an apartheid. The fuck is this guy talking about? Oh my God. This does not make any sense. This is so stupid because, okay, sweeping is, I guess, like terminology that like T channels use when they're talking about gossip, and people that actually hide, sweep things under the rug. Okay, hiding key elements of a story in an effort to defend a problematic individual. T channel, like TEA, like drama channels. It means like cleanup. Ethan used the "what do you expect" argument to cover for Israeli support for genocide yesterday, but now he has a problem when it's used for Hamas. Odd, maybe he didn't notice. I know. Sweeping it under the rug. That's what it is.
As an example, what South Africa shows is that you don't need to commit a violent war against civilians to liberate yourself.
Well, I mean, let's
see. This is again. This is unfortunately this is a barrage of dumb shit that Ethan is throwing in Sam's direction, and Sam does not respond in the way that I would in this circumstance, to be like, "You're wrong." The ANC had a militant wing called the MK, which Nelson Mandela directly created after going to Algeria to get military training, and then immediately got arrested after coming back from Algeria for this attempt at militancy. Nelson Mandela numerous times was asked to denounce violence that MK was engaging in, and he said no. They extended his prison sentence instead of commuting it because of his refusal to denounce violence. Okay? The idea that like Nelson Mandela abhorred violence or whatever is so stupid. Yes, the South African liberation included a lot of violence all over the region. And yeah, Nelson Mandela himself has also said this in fucking Gaza in 1999. Interesting.
Choose peace rather than confrontation.
Choose peace rather than confrontation, except in cases where we cannot move forward.
Except in cases where we cannot proceed, where we cannot move forward. Then, if the only alternative is violence, we will use violence.
His comments won him applause from leader Yasser Arafat and the assembly.
They clipped Chimp Nelson Mandela saying, "I think Israel has the right to exist legally." Yeah, Nelson Mandela in 1999 also said Israel was a fucking apartheid state, okay? And in 1999, the settlement project had not escalated to the point that it has, making the two-state solution impossible. My position on this is very clear. I used to be a two-stater myself, and I have a similar attitude to Avi Shlaim, famed Israeli-Iraqi historian Avi Shlaim of the New Historians. And my position is that despite the fact that I initially thought that a two-state solution could be possible, okay, that the Israeli settlement project has created a one state. There is a de facto one state. How do you know all this stuff? Because I fucking read. Okay, sorry. I know I joke about being illiterate, but goddamn, dude. That was always an L take, Hasan. Okay, shut the fuck up. Who cares? Okay, yeah, it's an L take. I know. Sorry, you were born with all the woke and based opinions. What do you want me to do? Okay, we all fucking learn from our mistakes. Anyway. Right now, the reality of the matter is one that Israel defenders refuse to acknowledge, which is that there is one state. There is a de facto one singular state. It is an apartheid state with Bantustans. Okay? Israel, as a settler colonial entity, has created a de facto singular state. That's why they completely dominate the West Bank, and that's why they completely dominate Gaza. Okay? Allowing Gazans to have a crumb of autonomy while controlling all of the fucking trade that goes into the Gaza Strip, while mass surveilling the Gaza Strip every single moment, does not mean that you have given the Palestinians a state. I'll give you the greatest example of why it was never a real state. Because if Gaza was a real state, then the Al-Qassam brigades would be treated as a real standing military. If the West Bank was a real Palestinian state, then the Jenin brigades would be treated as a real standing military. They legally have a right to have a standing military. Why are they considered terrorists by the Israeli state? Why are they consistently killed by the Israeli state? Why is the Palestinian Authority, which is supposed to represent the Palestinian autonomy in their own sovereign land, simply another mechanism of the Israeli security apparatus that also kills Palestinian militancy and also kills Palestinian resistance in the West Bank? You cannot be a state without having no access to the outside fucking world, with no standing military. That you're not a state at that point. You are simply a Bantustan under the control of the Israeli state, which is an apartheid. This is a reality that Israel refuses to reckon with. Okay? The other thing never touched on is, yes, you can compare Hamas to ANC and IRA, but Hamas is also what the ANC and IRA would have become if it lasted over 70 plus years. Yes, 100%. It is such a ridiculous thing to be like, oh, how dare you compare that to a previous successful revolutionary movement against an apartheid regime right now. I mean, if I was there back then, I would be defending the apartheid regime in South Africa as well as I'm defending Israel. But, you know, time has passed now, so it's permissible for me to defend the ANC.
Palestinians worship Mandela. Posters bearing his image cover
How do you
wall.
combat with I agree with all this? What do you mean? The question is simple. I say this, either says I agree with all this, then I ask, then why the fuck have you engaged in a mass harassment campaign towards all pro-Palestinian figures that agree with you entirely? You gave me $6,500, which you love fucking, you know, flailing around as though it's indicative of your position on this matter. And yet you have also routinely shit on even the fundraisers that came after that, saying that they were completely inconsequential. They've done nothing. And Kamala Harris would be more consequential on the lives of Palestinians than any number of different fucking fundraisers. He will respond by saying, you started it, you won't win on this. Yeah. And then I'll say I have an 8-minute compilation of me defending you against all attacks from my community and outside for up until fucking December of 2024. So while you were busy sneak dissing me, I was fucking foolishly defending you, not recognizing all of your opinions. It should be really simple. If you care about Palestinians, then what happened to the man and his wife that his wife kidnapped? If he thinks the West Bank is occupied, why wouldn't he want to know the person's fate or their name? Yeah. Relevant. Something I found interesting while rewatching the debate from yesterday is that Ethan seems to get the difference between justification/endorsement and understanding when it comes to Israel, which is exactly what you always try to clarify regarding Hamas Hezbollah Houthi discourse. Surely he'll be able to put the shoe on the other foot. Of course not. He's going to ask who you voted for to get a clip. Yeah, I'm not going to tell him. I'm going to say Joe Brandon firmly. 10 toes down, Joe Brandon.
Listen, we had for a year, we had the Great March of Return, where, you know, Sinwar himself was involved in that. There was Palestinians marching on a regular basis over the course of the year. I don't know how many it was, or 50 or whatever, that were innocent people who went there, and snipers are shooting down unarmed civilians. And so, you know, time and time again, and over the course of the 20 years that I've been professionally, you know, covering this, my attitude towards Israel's willingness to have peace has changed, and my understanding of it has changed. And I can only imagine how more intense that feeling is to be living in a place that is, you know, functionally like, you know, the Warsaw Ghetto, insofar as like you don't have access to resources, you have 50% unemployment, the apartheid that is taking place in terms of the West Bank. I mean,
I agree with those characterizations, by the way, Sam. Just to say.
Okay, but I can't imagine that my response wouldn't be to pick up a weapon.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know.
It's not really working out.
Well, none of it's working out, is
no,
it? I mean,
not much at all. Not really much at all.
It's called the greatest attack on Israelis in 75 years. The notion of Zionism and the way that Israel is organized as a society is not protecting Jews. Well, it's not protecting Israelis. It's not protecting Jews worldwide. It is, there may have been a time where Zionism had and there were certainly proponents of Zionism in the early 20th century, in the late, perhaps late 19th century, where there was a notion of a multi-ethnic democracy that fell by the wayside. Folks like Hannah Arendt and Einstein, left the Zionist Congress, and what it has evolved into is, I think, a nightmare for everyone involved. And so, I don't know how I would react in that type of miseration, frankly.
Well, can I ask you?
But again, Ehud Barak said that he would pick up a weapon were he one of them. And
that's fine.
He's far closer to the conflict than I am.
I'm not saying I don't understand why people pick up weapons, right? So let me ask you this: what do you think about October 7th attack?
Ethan said it is a genocide yesterday, and later was asking Sam what Israel was supposed to do after October 7. Does he say genocide, but it's justified? Yeah, maybe he has a Benny Morris style take on it. He will ask about the UN sexual assault on 10/7 report, and he alleges you deny sexual assaults on 10/7. When you bring up the rapes that the IOF does, when you mention how Ethan denied Palestinian women face systematic rape, Ethan will likely admit he's wrong and ask you to admit you are wrong. Yeah, except I'm not wrong, because there's only one instance. There's only one instance of sexual assault that took place, and it was a hostage. And the UN report actually shows that. The UN report in and of itself is so bad that the UN report on that issue is so bad that it does not meet the standard of the other UN report that came from the occupied occupied Palestinian territories, about the 49 pages that documents Israel's systematic rape. And it didn't happen on October 7. And I'm not even saying that there is no rapes that took place. We just don't know. And the reason why we don't know is because Israel never allowed there to be an actual thorough forensic examination, partially because they ruined the evidence. But the reason as to why there is no prosecutions that have been taken place since October 7, and that the Israeli prosecutors themselves have admitted this, is because there's no evidence. No one has come forward. No one has come forward, and there's no evidence. So what? What do? I want, no matter what their background, okay? Israeli, Palestinian, doesn't matter. I treat human beings as human beings. I want there to be justice served. Why the fuck would I defend rapes if there was clear-cut evidence of systematic rapes? And for the record, of course, even if there was clear-cut evidence of systematic rapes directed by Hamas, as implied by the New York Times reporting, as implied by the erroneous New York Times reporting that did not even clear its own editorial standards, as implied by Sheryl Sandberg, who has her own sexual harassment to deal with, obviously, but in that fucking documentary, that bullshit documentary that she put forward, that was just like atrocity propaganda. Even if all of that was real, 100%, which it's not, okay, that I will confidently say is fucking bullshit. But even if it was real, that still wouldn't justify genocide. Like, what are we talking about? The fuck is this? He always uses that lady that was debunked to not be raped, and then says his problem with E, and he was accused of the same thing. Yeah. Yes, I know. I already covered this before, and people said this was fake. Ex-hostage Mia Shem alleges she was raped by well-known personal trainer. Yeah. 23-year-old released in the first days of says 23-year-old released in the first day says Tel Aviv coach whose name is under gag order drugged and raped her in March. Suspect insists he's innocent. Anyway. Yes. Did you see that one of the key witnesses of the sexual assault on October 7 was outed as a fraud? His name is Rami Davidian, and he was cited on the UN report, which was not investigative, and on Sheryl Sandberg's documentary. Yes, I do know that. Mia Shem, an Israeli hostage, now officially confirmed that she was raped by an Israeli trainer, but it doesn't matter to Ethan and won't bring it up because it can't be used to justify genocide. Also, Hila Day, one day ago, donated to that Oreo dude who has a show called The Ultimate Rape Show or something like that. What the fuck? The Ultimate Rape Show? What the fuck is that? Ultimate Rape Review. Wait, wasn't that Sex Pestini's thing as well? He used to do that too. You don't belong to Turkey. You don't deserve to be Turk. Delete that on your biography. You don't have a right to write Turkish in your biography. You don't even talk about what's happening in Turkey and all of those in jail students. Do you see what I write? I don't think you get politics. I do talk about that. I don't know why you fucking think I don't. What's Hasan's nationality? Since you don't want to talk about stuff in Turkey, dictatorship in jail, and in jail students, dumbass. Their show is ranking rape accusations more or less is so fucking gross. Yeah, I say I enjoyed a chocolate baklava one time and the Turks fucking come in here and start talking about how I'm not a real Turk. At this stage, it was decided that I should attend the conference of the Pan-African Freedom Movement for Central, East, and Southern Africa, which was also to be held in early 1962 in Addis Ababa. And because of our need for preparation, it was also decided that after the conference, I would undertake a tour of the African states with a view of the obtaining facilities for the training of soldiers, and that I would also solicit scholarships for the higher education of matriculated Africans. Training in both fields would be necessary, even if changes come about by peaceful means. Administrators would be necessary who would be willing and able to administer a non-racial state, and so would men be necessary to control the army and police force of such a state. I started to make a study of the art of war and revolution, and whilst abroad, underwent a course in military training. If there was to be guerrilla warfare, I wanted to be able to stand and fight with my people and to share the hazards of war with them. Notes of lectures, which I received in Algeria. By the way, this is his testimony. In his testimony as to why he was criminally charged, by the way, he's like admitting. Either might have kind of a terminal gamer brain where some people are truly cannot accept that there's no winning choice for a group in the real world. The notion that if Kamala was the president, situation would be better, or if Hamas didn't exist, the Palestinians would live a flourishing nation without attacks from Israel. These are the kinds of delusions people convince themselves was just one choice away. Yeah, if Palestinians would be living in a fucking better society before Hamas existed, they would have lived in a society that never actually created Hamas, ironically enough. So that is a silly notion. Hamas is born out of the lack of options that the Palestinians had. You can have purely idealistic notions of how peace would have actually been possible, but at the end of the day, you're talking about a country that assassinated the one guy who was also ruthless in and of himself, the prime minister that actually kickstarted the peace negotiations process. The guys that actually called for his assassination, Benjamin Netanyahu and Itamar Ben-Gvir, are now running the fucking country. What are we talking about? Not testimony, quote from autobiography, Long Walk to Freedom. Oh, he's talking about his testimony where he was avoiding the death penalty. This is no, I mean, I don't know if this is from his autobiography or if this is from the testimony in the court proceedings, but it doesn't matter because he did do this, okay? Anyone who says he did not do this, he didn't go to Algeria to specifically get guerrilla training is wrong about the history. But of course, it doesn't matter that this fucking dipshit is wrong about the history because all that matters is defending Israel, seemingly, or not even defending Israel, but like defending Ethan Klein. South Africa's government today, which is run by Mandela's resistance, have backed Hamas since the morning of October 7th, 2023. What exactly do you think this proves? Do you think the ANC is channeling Mandela from the grave? God, you guys are so fucking dense. No, Mandela himself has channeled militant resistance against the state of Israel that he declared an apartheid. The fuck is this guy talking about? Oh my God. This does not make any sense. This is so stupid because this guy's supposed to be the history understander. And it seems like he doesn't understand any history. You are the worst person, and I'm pro-Palestine. Explain your position right now. Go ahead. Why? Let me guess. Let me explain it for you. You defend terror groups. Palestinians are supposed to just sit there and eat it for 76 fucking years and then slowly die away so we can do a land acknowledgement and feel bad about it. It's, God forbid, someone tries to resist militarily against the apartheid state that is doing mass rapes and ethnic cleansing campaigns for 76 fucking years and conducting an apartheid that has systematically destroyed all Palestinian livelihood in the West Bank against international law, but while simultaneously being armed and funded and defended by the most powerful nation on the planet. Right? That's what you're going to say? Just like the Lebanese population is supposed to eat it as well. Because when Israel says, I want your territory, you just have to sit there and go, yes, sir, please kill me, kill my children, kill my whole family, destroy my infrastructure, do the Dahiyya doctrine on everything that I know. Otherwise, fighting against that sort of thing would be considered anti-Semitic, God forbid. Some fucking loser dipshit in Iowa is going to call me anti-Semitic 35 years later, long after I've been killed. The fuck do you mean? Oh, this was another good part where Sam brought up that Ehud Barak said that he would be a part of Hamas. And it's not just Ehud Barak. The leader of the Shin Bet has said the same thing. Like many Israeli politicians have openly admitted that, yes, if they lived on the other side of the fucking Gaza boundary that Israel put there and militarily dominates the lives of Palestinians, they would be a part of the fucking whatever militancy that formed.
Sort of feel, I guess, ultimately probably like Ehud Barak when he said that were I Palestinian and I was living in Gaza, that it would be likely that I would join Hamas. I sort of feel.
Yeah. Lebanese have already dealt with enough from Israel in times past as well. The genocide of the Canaanites. Base Barak, base Sam Seder. The irony is Hamas would throw him off a building for his lifestyle choices. That's ISIS you're thinking of, and Israel supports them. Oh, such a great way to neuter that argument.